Two Filipinos. One born in America, one became an American. Welcome to Born Here, Born There.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Born Here.
Born There.
Yep, two Filipino folks just talking it out. I was born here, and Ricky was born there, but he is now an American. Came here as an adult. He's living the dream in California, right, man?
In sunny California, a place that, I never had any dreams, any plans, any aspirations at
Really?
all to live and move here. None, dude. I'm not like other Filipinos who were like, that's their dream. They want to move to the States. I had zero. And my citizenship was handed to me in a silver platter. So I have a thing about it where I'm like, man, I definitely don't deserve this. And
No. I mean,
it
look,
was handed
dude,
to me.
You had to go through actually, they just updated. I looked at some news clips recently, and they updated the citizenship test. I know I couldn't have passed the first version. Now they made it even harder. Like
I had to study
you
for
earned
it.
You earned it.
I had to study for it, and I was so nervous because it was 100 questions, right?
Yeah.
I'm fairly smart. I'm a fairly intelligent guy, but 100 questions is 100 questions, right? In such a short period. So I did study. It's funny, though, during the interview, so I came in, and the person who was going to interview me, no offense, but her accent was much thicker than mine.
Surprise.
So I was like, I got this. I'm
You're
like,
right.
okay, I got this.
Yeah, dude. Most people that are born here would not be able to pass that test. So I mean,
It's tough.
hands
Yeah. It was
down,
hard.
it's not. It's an accomplishment in that, and plus, you had to. It took you a while to get there. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into this effort. So
Yeah.
I think that if people had to do this, like even just being born here, and you had to go through this process, I think there would be a better
right.
appreciation for so much more these days.
Sure.
Anyway, well, today's topic, Ricky picked it because he's got his finger on the pulse of what's happening over there. I'm usually finding my news through TikTok, so that's how shallow I am when it comes to Filipinos current events. But you sent me the Quezon brouhaha, which is actually what it's called. Like
Yeah.
I thought you were just
Yeah.
using a colloquialism, but why don't we
Yeah.
talk about what that is? Because I had to look it up.
Sure. So a few days ago, the biopic for Quezon, the third installment in the Bayani Verse trilogy of Gerald Tarog, premiered. Initially, there were a lot of good reviews. I saw
Yeah.
a few reviews from some friends of mine who were in the industry, some actors, some producers, some directors, and they were really praising the movie. They praised Jericho Rosales' performance. They praised a lot of things about the movie. Some comments about the production design and the art direction, because it's a period film, right? So you could never get the suits
Yeah.
right and all these things right. The hat was wrong, like, oh, that hat didn't exist during that year, whatever, right? So it was getting some traction. People were giving it good reviews until this video clip surfaced where during one of the Q&As for the movie, where the director and Jericho Rosales, the guy playing Quezon, he lost his S, man. He lost it where
Really?
this was, by the way, the guy was the grandson of President Quezon, Ricky Avancenia Quezon, or Ricky Quezon Avancenia, rather. So he raised the question about, is this political satire or not? What is this? But after that, that wasn't I think that wasn't the purpose of his question, to ascertain if this was satire or not. Then he lost his S. He basically lambasted the production, the director, the main actor, and really cussed them out. And in the end, he said, "Oh, I'm gonna channel my grandfather and f you and f that and everything," and literally dropped the mic. He dropped the mic and walked out.
Good grief.
I for one was like, good for you, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of Filipinos don't do that. A lot of Filipinos don't speak up,
Yeah.
even if, they're being insulted, whatever. So he was brazen enough, and I guess he was offended enough for him to do that in a public forum. So yeah, and now everybody's talking about it. It's all over social media. Some people are asking if this was a publicity stunt, because it really did stir up a lot of interest for the movie. Now everybody wants to watch it, right? Which is great. Which is great too. I mean,
Oh, that does make sense. But you think he was in on it? Like he's using it to promote the film? But it seems like I mean, you showed me the video. It was very authentic in my mind. Like somebody else is like filming it, and in fact, they went from horizontal to vertical. Like you could tell this person was trying to like figure out their phone while they're doing it. But I think that I would raise a question is like they must have at least gone to the families to ask specific things, or maybe they didn't. Like how did they produce this movie without the family even having any visibility into what they're saying? Most biopics, they try to bring in some actual documentation or talk to the families to give a really round perspective. So did they not do that in this case, or?
We will never know, right? But you're right in the sense that if you watch the biopics here in Hollywood,
Yep.
usually some kind of surviving family member is a consultant, right?
Yeah.
They're brought on board. But the funny thing is about Hollywood, even if the relatives or the families are brought in for as a consultant or as an advisor or creative advisor, it's very rare that they're just portrayed in a positive light. There's always something like the drug addiction, the womanizing or the adultery and all that. It's featured, right?
Yep.
And they don't seem to mind if that's the truth, right? If that was real, or even if some liberties were taken, right? So I think, like I said, we'll never know if they were consulted or not. But even if they were, right, at the end of the day, it's their movie and it's their production.
Yeah.
They're artists, right? There's they're artists. It's art. It's an interpretation. So yeah, I guess he really just did take offense at how his grandfather was portrayed. Here's the funny tidbit about this video, Manolo. If you watch it again, at some point, he said, "This is the third time I'm viewing the movie."
Oh.
Yeah, it was the third time. And he said, at first, he was okay. Until the social media comments started pouring in.
Oh. So
And that was the only time that he didn't like it. At first, he had no qualms about anything.
Right.
Until the same comments started popping up where, apparently Quezon is not a hero and all these things. That's when he started getting pit. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that brings it a lot into question if it's the third time. Like, if it was the first time, I would think that was a normal reaction. I mean, I don't know. I have to watch shows a couple times to get all the nuances too. So maybe I'll hand him that. And then, I think you and I were talking about it. Is the guy is the grandson, didn't even know his grandfather. Like he couldn't have. He was gone. What was it? 1945,
Yeah.
1946. So
yeah. So Quezon died in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's probably a little older than us.
Yeah.
So he definitely wasn't born in the 40s. He doesn't look like he
Nope.
was born in the 40s. My dad was born in the 40s,
Yeah,
and
mine
he's
was
gone
too.
now. So,
And he's in the
so
90s now. So, like, that guy's not 90. As much
no,
as
no, no.
Filipinos don't age, that guy is not 90.
No, no, no. That's why he wouldn't be far from us, right?
Right.
So he didn't meet him, probably knew him from stories passed on by his other relatives or what he read in books. So what he saw in the movie was definitely how he thought his grandfather was. And then all these insults or comments from social media got
Right.
to him.
Because of the
Yeah.
timing, because this relates back to what's going on with the Ghost Flood projects, right? Like, all
Right.
of this is now bubbling up, and I think the social consciousness in the Philippines has now been raised to a certain level where they're going to call out certain things, right? Which is, I think,
Right.
it's like you said, it's great that he stood up, because I also don't think that's a Filipino trait that I've seen.
No, no. Filipinos
But
are not
it
going to
also
do that.
says, the younger generation is now kind of pushing the rock forward, as they say. It's making this important. I did, I haven't seen the movie yet, but when I read some of the synopsis, it basically says he is made to look like a corrupt, scheming, manipulative politician, which I think a lot of politicians could be put in that category, no matter what country you're in. But
I was going to say, the fact of the matter is that the people who are drawn to politics, they're of a certain way. They're like that. That's
Yeah.
what attracts politic or government officials. They're egotistical, and that's why they're there. Something in their DNA attracts them to that. That's why we get the leaders or the officials that we get.
yeah,
Right? I
yep.
think that's par for the course. Yeah, and you're right about the next generation. He was definitely worried and offended that that's how his grandfather was going to be seen moving forward, unlike before, where he
So-
wasn't. Yeah.
Was it? I mean, how is his grandfather perceived before this movie? Like, I mean,
So-
you learn about him in school. He's a hero, that kind of thing. Was he?
I'm just gonna use my perspective because that's
Yeah.
the only thing I know, right? That's the only one I know. First is there's Quezon City, which used to be the capital of the Philippines, so it was named after him. So that's
Yeah.
a big deal, right? Nobody's gonna name the city or the capital after you unless you were a big deal, right?
Right.
And he was the first president of the Republic of the Philippines. So, for all intents and purposes, he was George Washington. Yeah, you
Right.
see what I mean? So after all of the Spanish and the American and the Japanese rule, he was the first president. So very much like George Washington, right? And then he cuts like a really striking figure. He's very attractive. He's very
Yeah.
photogenic and so on. He could very well have been Kennedy, JFK, right? So that's all I know about Quezon. But now what's coming up is with all this stuff that's happening in the Philippines with the ghost projects and the corruption and whatnot, is now they're saying is he was the original trapo, or in short, original traditional politician. Trapo is just shortcut for traditional politician,
Okay.
but trapo in the true sense of the word is a rag, or a rag that you use to wipe dirt on
Oh, yeah.
your car or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So now he's taking offense at that, where he's the original traditional politician, or the father or the originator of patronage politics in the Philippines. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think that's not far from the reality.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got to be like that to operate in those circles.
Yep. I mean, it's a quality that is equated to the politics is that. I mean, if you look it up, that's the definition of
Yeah.
what you do, and you just have to find, it depends on your approach and how you ethically treat things. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
when was watching it, my Tagalog is super bad, so it's hard. But I was listening. I mean, I think you could hear the tension and the sense in the guy's voice, the grandson's voice, right? So I feel
Yeah.
for him, especially if he's been told one thing. Like it's like if somebody said your Lolo is a criminal. It's like what? What are you saying? So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I mean, like you said, if it's the third time, I'm not sure anymore if I really believe how authentic that rage is. It's like we but I don't think you have. I mean, historically, you don't really have control over how history remembers your ancestors. Like it's just gonna.
Yeah.
It's whatever outweirs the goodness or the badness that are happening. Like it's always going to be, and there's always going to be people's opinions. I mean, I hate to equate it to the Charlie Kirk thing that we had here, but it's very similar because depending on who you talk to and what viewpoint, people will either herald him as a vision, a patriot, and then the other side is he was a bad guy. And again, it's like how will he be remembered depends
Yeah.
on where you sit in this left and right spectrum. But I think it's interesting if they planned this to happen during. I mean, they couldn't have planned it at a better time, and I don't think they could have known this was going to be an issue during
Yeah.
that time. So I don't think it's a political move, but it seems pretty good timing. But then, then it goes back to, like you said, it's part of people's DNA. Regardless of what country you're from, it's how you have to operate in politics because
Yeah.
everybody's got a handout. You have to please a lot of people, right? It's part of what democracy is all about.
You
But
have
do
to
you think?
compromise. You have to curry favor from one party
Yep.
to
And how do you
another
do that? You
to
you have to
move.
give
Yeah.
somebody something they want, and they give you
Yeah.
something you want. That's just
The
the
lesser
nature of
evil.
politics.
Yeah.
But if we go back to, do you think this is shining a flashlight all the way back in history and saying, look, this is still endemic in what we do. You're just seeing it more openly now, and maybe the information is coming faster and you're able to react to it. But I wonder if that's what we're saying, like Filipinos need to see this. This is regardless if it's satire or if you believe that, it's taken in context, right? Everything, all of these dramas have some sort of dramatization. Like, and they say that in a little disclaimer that happens when they do it, but I don't know. I mean, it's like you're taking somebody's hero off the pedestal and saying, "Look, this is not really what he was like." But
Yeah, you're
I don't
you're
know.
right in the timeliness in the sense that we're trying to find a reason. We're trying to find a reason why our system is what it is or is how it is. We're trying to find a reason or somebody to blame. Like why is this corruption so endemic and prevalent in our system? Why, right?
Yep.
We're looking for somebody to blame. And yeah, this film came along and now it's saying he was the model for
Yep.
how
The OG
politicians
of
are.
politicians, right?
So you are gonna get hurt if you're
Yeah.
the relative, the grandson or whatever. And I think this is the other issue here, Manolo, with Filipinos in general, or at least some people that I know.
Yep.
The problem is, you know how nowadays we're being told don't tie your identity to your profession or your
Yeah.
job, right?
Yeah.
Stop doing that. We should stop doing that. With the Philippines, and this could be the same in other countries, stop tying your identity to your relatives or to your ancestors.
Oh,
You
that's
know
a
how
good point.
in the Philippines they always take pride in, oh yeah, so and so was my grandfather, so and so. I'm the guiltiest of that, where just because my grandfather was hot S doesn't mean I'm hot S. He was born in a different time. These were different situations, blah blah blah. Just
Yep.
because we share 30% DNA doesn't mean we're the same person,
Yeah, but
right? We
think
gotta
about
stop
it.
doing
It's your.
that.
You're right, but I that's a hard one to extract from culture because that's exactly the Philippines. Like they look at.
That's the
I
Philippines.
always say You know,
That's the
it's
Philippines.
like the five families that rule the Philippines, right? We know who they are. We know that there is a
Yeah.
legacy, a dynasty of these people, not just in politics but in business, right? That's
And
just
even if you're remotely related to anyone
I
of this,
know.
you that becomes your identity. Like, oh yeah, I'm so and so, you know.
I mean, how many times have you met somebody and they go right there, like after they introduce themselves, he's like, "Yeah, my grandfather or my uncle or I know the president or I know," like that's just a thing that they do, like Filipinos do, especially if you're trying to establish some credibility the first time you meet someone, which could do the opposite if you're like, I don't get into that stuff.
I don't care,
So,
right? Or,
but
you
you're
know,
right. I
the
mean,
equivalent of that here is, oh yeah, I went to Harvard.
yeah,
Same thing,
yes.
right?
Oh my gosh, I know a
Or I
lot of
went to
folks
some.
like that.
They'll be the first to tell you, right?
Yep.
They'll be the first to tell you.
And they won't
Yeah.
let you forget because when I was at Harvard, like it's a thing that they'll just say at beginning and starting.
Right.
Yes, I know many people like that.
Doesn't have to be
It's fun.
Harvard. You blank Ivy League
Yeah,
school,
or I
right?
went to this school, or I'm from
Yale.
this part
Yeah.
of town. Like,
Stanford.
oh, I grew
Yeah.
up here. You know, I grew up in Bethesda,
Yeah.
Maryland, which is now a very rich suburb in Maryland. It
Mm-hmm.
was not when I
Okay.
was living there, but you know, a lot of people I know will raise that of like, oh, you lived there. I'm like, before it was cool, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
historically. I don't know if the kids today lean into that though. I mean,
Hopefully not. Hopefully
you know, it's
let's stop doing
I
this.
don't have a lot of younger kid friends that I can relate to anymore. Like we're all in this certain age now, but it feels like when I look at TikTok, there is a lot of folks that aren't necessarily leaning into the legacy of what they are, but they're making their own way and say this is who
Yeah.
I am, which
Yeah.
again, to your point, I think is a better way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I think it's just in general, it's a tough thing to look at yourself in the mirror, right? Even in America, there's a lot of these. You know, we've gone through this thing where they're changing the names of places. Well, they used to change the names of places that were part of the Confederacy because we had that Civil War.
Right.
A lot of times they don't say it, but a lot of our founding fathers, I don't think George Washington had slaves, but some of the other presidents did. And, you know, it's not necessarily like on the list of accomplishments, but they did too. And it comes
Yeah.
out in every historical movie that they do.
Right.
I don't know. I wonder though, does that continue beyond this situation, right? Let's say we get through this Arab Spring in the Philippines that's happening. We're going through this. Is this the time? Because even when I watched the last election with Marcos, I was wondering. That's a perfect example of there's a way that certain people remember him. Like my parents remembered it fondly versus
Yeah.
people who were not done right by that administration.
Right.
Do you
Right.
see that as well? I mean, that seems pretty recent. I mean, he's been president for what, 3, 4 years already? So
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that is tough. That is tough. You're right in the sense that it's hard to detach it. It's gonna be virtually impossible, but and it's gonna be hard to be balanced. Like take the good with the bad or the bad with the good.
yeah,
But that's just how it is, you know. Politicians, heroes, we're all people. We're all flawed, and yeah, all these things are gonna come out in this age of information and all of these things. It's gonna be a more complete portrait, so to speak, of everyone,
yeah,
and it's just gonna have to be up to the individual on the decision they make on how they want to perceive whoever. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like this guy, we were talking about identity with your grandfather. He calls himself Enrique Ricky Quezon Avancenia. You don't have in the Philippines. You don't necessarily have to mention your middle name, but
yeah,
obviously his identity is tied to it. Where oh, yeah, I'm the grandson of Quezon. Probably got him a lot of whatever.
yep,
You know,
yeah.
got him a table at the restaurant so
That's
easily.
right.
Whatever, right? You know how it is, right? But if we go back to the video, the question is, was this rigged? Was this intentional? And if you watch the beginning of the video, he does say that he knew or he knows the producers, right? Because my thing here always is follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Follow the money. And I learned that from The Godfather. Like whoever benefits monetarily from something, they will be the first to speak up. You remember that meeting in The Godfather where Barzini and Tatalia, that's how the Don figured it out. Because he was like, why is this guy chiming in all of a sudden, right?
Yep.
So it's something similar where his name might not be in the credits or anything. The producer was some Ed Rocha guy. But he said, oh yeah, I know the Rochas. Another thing we do where we name drop people who are prominent and whatever. So I feel like it could have been that, oh, I'm going to do this. We're going to stir up some controversy so that more people will watch it. You'll get more money and whatever. And, I don't know, maybe buy me a car or something. I don't know.
Right?
Right?
You never know what he got.
You never know. You will never know. But, we'll never know. But it's there. He was wearing all white. So it's hard to miss.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Ninoy Aquino was wearing all white. Somebody shot a video of it. You know? So we don't know. But yeah, follow the money.
It's always
And
that.
yeah,
And I think there's always just, it's people's perspective, right? Like
yeah.
I keep going back to Marcus because that's the only one I really know. I grew up during that era, and I heard the bad side, the atrocities of martial law.
Yeah.
But I also saw what he did. Certain parts of the Philippines infrastructure was built up during that time. So, it's like the mix and match. If you were on the receiving end of these martial law atrocities, you're never gonna go through
For
that.
sure.
But if you're someone
For
that
sure.
saw your community get uplifted and get some things that it really needed during that time, you're gonna always think that's the hero. And that, it's the same thing here. We talk about things that Lincoln did and freeing the slaves, but there's a subtext
Right.
around. That wasn't really his main thing. Like I think also with age, I went back and I questioned things in general, but I didn't just take things that's why. Right. In the day and age, I mean, for me, I also watch Fox News as well as NPR. Right. I need to have a more rounded view, and I think maybe in the Philippines today, it's a lot easier to get news from many different sources and then make your own decisions. But is this something that, because, for me, sometimes I say, well, it's easy for me to criticize this because I don't understand it. But, I look at you and you're calling it out too, so I don't feel so bad like, well, I don't really get it, or I don't have the real understanding of the psyche of a Filipino. But it sounds like you and I are on the same page in this one, even from afar, my disconnection.
Well, let's bring it closer to home, Manolo. Let me
Yeah.
ask you. How would you feel if your grandfather was on the big screen and he was portrayed in a poor light? How would you feel?
You know what? Let's say he knew his grandfather, because I knew my grandfather very well.
Okay.
And so there were some things that he said and did that I did not agree with, even back then.
Okay.
So I think if that came to light, I'd be like, yeah, I'll accept that. Because, your Lolo's your Lolo. You're always going to hold him up. But
Right.
he said some things. So the short answer is I would accept it, because I know that he was, like you said, everybody has their own issues, their own problems. No one's
Exactly.
perfect.
Right.
And you have to just live your life a certain way. But he grew up in the era where Japanese invaded the Philippines, so he was very racist. Like, he didn't like the fact that I had a Toyota. Like, he was so angry.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They
You know
wouldn't
what I
drive
mean?
Japanese
So-
cars. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think, maybe because I'm also older now and I see that there's two sides to everything, that I'm more
Yeah.
accepting of criticism. I would be more accepting, especially because I knew he wasn't perfect. I mean, how about
Yeah.
you? I mean, do you? This is a good one to close out their show with. But do you? How
Yeah.
do you feel if that was your grandfather?
I'm the same. I'm the same. Where I
Yeah.
never met. I'm the opposite rather. Where I never met him. He died 2 years before I was born. So even if I did meet him, I would be very young. Like some of my cousins, they're very young. So you have a different memory of it, right? So it will be colored with whatever,
Yeah.
right? But with the internet, I did some digging. I did some research about him because everybody in my family obviously praises him. And so he was the lawyer Marcos, by the way. Yeah, so he was mired in all of this. In any case, his cases are in the internet, and I found some stuff too, which were not favorable, or they didn't shine a favorable light on him. So I was like, at least I have a balanced view
Yeah.
as well, right? Wherein, yeah, that's realistic. We're people. So, so if there was a biopic about him and that showed up, that's the truth. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a problem with film. You only have 2 hours. You can't show everything.
Right.
Right. You can
Right.
only show so much, and there's got to be some drama
Yes.
to it. I think that's the other thing that people don't realize. There's got to be some conflict. There's got to be some drama. Somebody has to be the bad guy. Somebody has to be the good guy.
Yep.
And somebody has to win, right? So that's art, and that's cinema. That's movies, right? So I wouldn't take it personally, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
I think that's just maybe that's more of a personality thing, like you said. It's
Yeah.
like, if you bring your identity all the way back to your ancestry, that's a tough.
Yeah.
You got to live with the consequences. I guess that's the way to
Yeah.
look at it. Because
And yeah,
even then, things that were done in the olden days are not acceptable today, as you and I said. I think we were just joking.
It's not
around.
fair.
Like,
Yeah, it's
you
just not
couldn't say
fair.
Virgin Voyage or things like that. It's just things have changed.
Yeah.
So,
That's just how it
anyway.
is. Yeah.
Well, that I look at a clock, and unfortunately, Henry didn't wake you up or didn't come out today. So I guess he didn't.
No, not
I think
today.
I see his head. I think I will see his
No,
head right behind you. Oh,
that's the dog.
Oh,
That's our dog.
well, that was thanks for spending time with me again, Ricky. That was a great.
Thank you,
show.
Manolo. I thought that
And,
was a good discussion. I think
yeah.
we covered a lot
We
of
got
stuff
deep.
in there.
We got real
Yeah.
deep. So
We had a lot of nuances in there.
Yep.
Identities, political identities and whatnot. So I thought that was good.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and join us on our next episode.
Thank you.